자, 수업을 이어서 하겠습니다. 자, 어쨌든 이게 기후변화의 어느 정도를 평가하는 척도였습니다. 그런데 이게 단순한 척도뿐만 아니라 이 기후변화가 있으면 토착생물에게 굉장히 많은 위협을 가한다 그랬죠. 자, 여기에서 토착생물 중에 인간도 여러분 생물이잖아요. 자, 이쪽에 사는 사람들이 이 만년설이 녹으면서 물을 공급받았거든요. 물이라는 건 여러분 생물에게는 뭔가요? 생명의 근원입니다. 생명의 근원인데 인간조차도 이 지역에서는 이런 기후변화 때문에 생존에 위협을 받고 있는 상황입니다, 여러분. 자, 어쨌든 이 기후변화가 심각하다는 거. 저 같은 경우도 여러분 집에서 여름에 그냥 에어컨 켜고 있어요. 더우면은. 그래서 이 기후변화가 피부에 와닿지는 않죠. 우리가 생명의 위협을 느끼지 못하니까. 그런데 되게 경각심을 가지고 여러분, 저부터 시작을 해가지고 여러분들까지 많은 노력들을 해야 될 것 같습니다. 자, GWP, 글로벌 워밍 포텐셜입니다. 자, 지구 온난화를 줄 수 있는 잠재적 영향력을 가진 가스들을 일컫는 내용이에요. 자, 보면은 기후변화, 지구 온난화를 일으키는 물질을 보면은 CO2, 메탄, N2O, 기타 등등등등등이 있습니다. 자, 그러면은 이런 잠재적인 가능성을 가진 가스들의 온난화 순위를 보면은 순위라기보다 포텐셜인 거죠. 가장 잠재력을 본 거예요. 잠재력. CO2가 1, 메탄 21, N2O가 310. 즉, 이 얘기는 뭐냐면은 잠재 영향력을 영향을 미칠 수 있는 것들이 메탄이나 N2O가 CO2보다 21배 크고 310배 크다는 거예요. 우리는 이상한 거죠. 우리는 지금 기후변화, 지구온난화의 주범이 이산화탄소라고 알고 있는데 이산화탄소가 잠재력이 포텐셜이 제일 낮네? 어떻게 된 거지? 이런 의문을 가질 수 있습니다. 이게 CO2를 1로 기준으로 보고 다 순위를 매겨본 거예요. 일반화시킨 겁니다. 그죠? 자, 그러면 이 CO2가 왜 1인데도 불구하고 가장 기후변화의 주범일까? 배출량이 있습니다. 배출량이 비교도 할 수 없을 만큼, 다른 가스들과 비교했을 때 비교도 할 수 없을 만큼 많은 거예요. 그래서 실제로는 GWP가 이산화탄소가 굉장히 낮지만 실제로 배출량이 이런 거에 21배, 310배 이 정도를 커버할 수 있는 만큼 어마어마하게 많은 양을 배출하기 때문에 지구 기후변화 온난화의 가장 큰 주범을 하는 물질이다 라고 말을 할 수 있습니다. 아시겠죠, 여러분? 자, GWP에 대한 내용 이것도 상식적으로 알고 계시면 돼요. 그래서 기후변화에 대해서 이것저것 얘기를 하는데 제가 한번 어떤 영상을 본 적이 있어요. 근데 지금 이게 몇 년, 그래도 최소 3, 4년이 된 것 같은데, 어떤 학생인데 이야기를 되게 잘하더라고요. 아주 당연한 이야기인데, 이 당연한 얘기를, 되게 좀 전국을 찌르는 것 같은 이런 느낌으로 이야기를 굉장히 잘합니다. 여러분, 요거 한번, 또 영상 한번 볼게요. 기후변화가 있는데 이거 너네들 왜 이거 해결할 수 있는 건데 왜 해결을 안 하지?
Starting out with any new project management software usually feels something like this. Where do you
When I was about 8.
자막을 한국어로. 여러분 다 알아듣겠지만 그래도 제가 못 알아들어서 한국어로 할게요, 여러분. 잠깐만. 한국. 지금 자동 번역 누른 다음에 한국어. 대단합니다. 그죠, 여러분? 자, 뭐 이 학생이 아마 10몇 살인가 그런데 우리가 받아들일 내용들만 한번 받아들여 볼게요. 굉장히 전국을 찌르는 내용들을 이야기를 잘 하고 있습니다.
8 years old, I first heard about something called climate change or global warming. Apparently that was something humans had created by our way of living. I was told to turn off the lights to save energy and to recycle paper to save resources. I remember thinking that it was very strange that humans, who are an animal species among others, could be capable of changing the Earth's climate. Because if we were, and if it was really happening, we wouldn't be talking about anything else. As soon as you turn on the TV, everything would be about that. Headlines, radio, newspapers. You would never read or hear about anything else. As if there was a world war going on. But no one ever talked about it. If burning fossil fuels was so bad that it threatened our very existence, how could we just continue like before? Why were there no restrictions? Why wasn't it made illegal? To me, that did not add up. It was too unreal. So when I was 11, I became ill. I fell into depression. I stopped talking and I stopped eating. In 2 months, I lost about 10 kilos of weight. Later on, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and selective mutism. That basically means I only speak when I think it's necessary. Now was one of those moments. For those of us who are on the spectrum, almost everything is black or white. We aren't very good at lying, and we usually don't enjoy participating in the social game that the rest of you seem so fond of. I think in many ways that we autistic are the normal ones, and the rest of the people are pretty strange. Especially when it comes to the sustainability crisis, where everyone keeps saying that climate change is an existential threat and the most important issue of all, and yet they just carry on like before. I don't understand that, because if the emissions have to stop, then we must stop the emissions. To me, that is black or white. There are no grey areas when it comes to survival. Either we go on as a civilization or we don't. We have to change. Rich countries like Sweden need to start reducing emissions by at least 15% every year. And that is so that we can stay below a 2-degree warming target. Yet, as the IPCC have recently demonstrated, aiming instead for 1.5 degrees Celsius would significantly reduce the climate impacts. But we can only imagine what that means for reducing emissions. You would think the media and every one of our leaders would be talking about nothing else, but they never even mention it. Nor does anyone ever mention the greenhouse gases already locked in the system, nor that air pollution is hiding a warming, so that when we stop burning fossil fuels, we already have an extra level of warming, perhaps as high as 0.5 to 1.1 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, does hardly anyone speak about the fact that we are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction, with up to 200 species going extinct every single day. That the extinction rate is today between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than what is seen as normal. Nor does hardly anyone ever speak about the aspect of equity or climate justice, clearly stated everywhere in the Paris Agreement, which is absolutely necessary to make it work on a global scale. That means that rich countries need to get down to zero emissions within 6 to 12 years with today's emission speed. And that is so that people in poorer countries can have a chance to heighten their standard of living by building some of the infrastructure that we have already built, such as roads, schools, hospitals, clean drinking water, electricity, and so on. Because how can we expect countries like India or Nigeria to care about the climate crisis if we, who already have everything, don't care even a second about it or our actual commitments to the Paris Agreement? So, why are we not reducing our emissions? Why are they in fact still increasing? Are we knowingly causing a mass extinction? Are we evil? No, of course not. People keep doing what they do because the vast majority doesn't have a clue about the actual consequences of our everyday life. And they don't know the rapid changes required. We all think we know, and we all think everybody knows, but we don't. Because how could we? If there really was a crisis, and if this crisis was caused by our emissions, you would at least see some signs. Not just flooded cities, tens of thousands of dead people, and whole nations leveled to piles of torn down buildings. You would see some restrictions. But no. And no one talks about it. There are no emergency meetings, no headlines, no breaking news. No one is acting as if we were in a crisis. Even most climate scientists or green politicians keep on flying around the world, eating meat and dairy. If I live to be 100, I will be alive in the year 2103. When you think about the future today, you don't think beyond the year 2050. By then, I will, in the best case, not even have lived half of my life. What happens next? The year 2078, I will celebrate my 75th birthday. If I have children or grandchildren, maybe they will spend that day with me. Maybe they will ask me about you, the people who were around back in 2018. Maybe they will ask why you didn't do anything while there still was time to act. What we do or don't do right now will affect my entire life and the lives of my children and grandchildren. What we do or don't do right now, me and my generation can't undo in the future. So when school started in August this year, I decided that this was enough. I sat myself down on the ground outside the Swedish parliament. I school striked for the climate. Some people say that I should be in school instead. Some people say that I should study to become a climate scientist so that I can solve the climate crisis. But the climate crisis has already been solved. We already have all the facts and solutions. All we have to do is to wake up and change. And why should I be studying for a future that soon will be no more, when no one is doing anything whatsoever to save that future? And what is the point of learning facts within the school system, when the most important facts given by the fine science of that same school system clearly means nothing to our politicians and our society? Some people say that Sweden is just a small country and that it doesn't matter what we do. But I think that if a few children can get headlines all over the world just by not going to school for a few weeks, imagine what we could all do together if we wanted to. Now we're almost at the end of my talk. And this is where people usually start talking about hope. Solar panels, wind power, circular economy, and so on. But I'm not going to do that. We've had 30 years of pep talking and selling positive ideas. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't work. Because if it would have, the emissions would have gone down by now. They haven't. And yes, we do need hope. Of course we do. But the one thing we need more than hope is action. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. Today, we use 100 million barrels of oil every single day. There are no politics to change that. There are no rules to keep that oil in the ground. So we can't save the world by playing by the rules. Because the rules have to be changed. Everything needs to change. And it has to start today. Thank you.
자, 여러분 잘 봤죠? 근데 이게 저도 지금 같이 봤는데 구글 번역인가 유튜브 번역 기능이 뭐 대단하긴 하지만 그래도 약간씩 좀 이상하게 번역할 때도 있고 순서도 조금 바뀔 때도 있습니다. 하지만 이 사람이 이 어린 학생이 이야기하는 것 중에서 이런 얘기가 있었어요. 2078년인가 몇 년도에 자기가 75세래요. 근데 그때 아이들이 있을 거죠. 아이들이 물어본다는 거죠. 2018년에 이 동영상이 2018년 건가 봐요. 2018년에 살았던 사람들 왜 이 가스 배출이나 기후변화, 지구온난화를 위해서 행동하지 않았느냐, 뭐 왜 아무것도 안 했느냐, 이런 거죠. 이때 뭐라고 대답을 할 것인가. 그리고 지금 아까 또 재밌었던 게 녹색, 이런 그린을 주장하는 정치인들이나 환경운동가들 여전히 고기나 유제품들을 먹고 비행기를 타고 해외여행을 하고 있다. 해외 가는 게 중요한 게 아니라 이런 비행기들 탄소를 많이 배출하는 거잖아요. 이런 행동들을 계속 하고 있다. 그래서 여기서 가장 중요한 건 행동입니다. 행동을 하자. 이제 여러분 저부터도 이제 이렇게 행동을 해야죠. 행동을 해야 되고 우리가 환경과 삶 이렇게 이걸 공부하는 걸로 이번 기회에 조금 더 환경에 대해서 관심을 가졌으면 좋겠습니다, 여러분. 자, 이 동영상은 심심할 때 다시 한 번씩 봐주시고요. 그 다음 넘어갈게요. 자, IPCC. 자, 기후변화와 관련된 전 지구적 위험을 평가하고 국제적 대책을 마련하기 위해 세계 기상기구하고 유엔 환경계획이 공동으로 설립한 유해산화 국제협의체입니다. 기후변화에 대해서 국제적으로 협의체를 만들어서 어떤 기준을 정하고 목표를 가지고 기후변화에 대응하자, 이런 걸 하는 국제협의체예요. 본부는 스위스 제네바에 있고 2007년 미국 전 부통령 엘고와 함께 노벨 평화상을 수상했다. 엘고의 불편한 진실. 잠시만요, 여러분. 이거 끝날 수도 있을 것 같아요. 자, 다음 동영상으로 넘어갈게요. 애매하니까.